Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I've got good news for landlords. I've got an insurance company that will cover you for pet-related problems. This is a brand new policy. It's not that expensive and it could help you alleviate those pesky problems once the Renters' Rights Bill goes through. So in this video, we're going to talk about how this works, what the coverage is, how much it costs, and we'll talk about whether we think it's a good idea or not. Now, before we jump into this, as always, if you're new around here, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 46,000 subscribers. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, interest rate news, property investing news, and much, much more. And let's get some views on this video, because I think it's important that landlords know that there are solutions to your problems, and some of them aren't that expensive. So how can we do that? Simple. Smash like, tickle like, do something to that like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that really has helped the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So, obviously, I'm back from France if you're a long-term viewer. There's a couple of 100,000 of you that watch the channel on a regular basis. We're getting around 500,000 views in total each month at the moment, but 200,000 are regulars. So you've probably seen that I've been in France for the last couple of weeks. I had a nightmare getting home from France because the French customs decided they didn't really need many booths open, and that meant that there were hours and hours of waits in Calais. We missed the ferry, and then we got a much later one, which was an absolute nightmare. But we got back in the end. That's the main thing. Now, the Renters' Rights Bill is something that has a lot of landlords concerned. And one of the things that they are concerned about, maybe not the biggest problem, but landlords are worried about that, and this is pets. You see, in the Renters' Rights Bill, you've got to consider that if the tenant has pets, that you will let them rent your property. Now, you can get around that if, for example, the lease on your property, maybe you've got a flat and it's leasehold and it says no pets, that would be totally reasonable to say, look, I can't give you this property because you've got pets, because you'd be breaking your lease in those circumstances. But you're not going to be able to advertise your property saying no pets, no DSS, things that people currently do put in adverts to push some people away. So you've got to consider pets. And myself, I've got a few tenants that have pets out of my portfolio. And to be honest, it's not that bad because it does keep them longer term. I've got one property in Dorking that's got a garden. It's a flat, but it's a garden flat. And that tenant's been there for a while and they're looking to stay even longer. In fact, they're asking if they can renew at the moment. So that's good. And that does mean that people do stay longer sometimes. But I do understand that some people don't want pets. And in the comments on the videos of the Renters' Rights Bill, there's tons of you that have said, yeah, I won't rent my properties out if they've got pets. Well, maybe this will help you change your mind. There's a company, an insurance company. They are called Total Landlord. And they've got a new policy out to help people with pets. Now, they're saying that some of the statistics that they talk about, that when someone has a claim, when there's a problem and the tenancy goes wrong, the cost of claims that are for people that have pets are 141% more expensive. So they're saying that the average claim, normal claims, is £629, but if you have pets involved, that often goes up to an average of £1,520. That's a massive increase, 141%. Now, that means that people get put off by pets. People read articles where a dog has destroyed a door frame or a cat, you know what they've done, and it doesn't smell too great in the property. Those things mean other landlords that have never had problems with pets are put off. And that is true here. Now, what's also interesting is the claims are often 35%. So if you have a pet-related problem, the cost of fixing it is often 35% more than the deposit that you hold. That's then a problem because you can keep the deposit, if it's all above board, but then you've got that additional amount above that you've got to decide, do you chase? And a lot of landlords just give up. They think it's not worth chasing for that money, and they lose out. So these guys are saying that if you get a policy with them, they will insure you for £2,500. And that should cover a fair bit of stuff that any pet could do. Damage to carpets, door frames I've heard that get eaten, and various things like that. So £2,500 isn't bad. And remember, that's on top of the deposit that you hold as well. Now, they do have some conditions, and the conditions are that you do have a deposit for the tenant, and that's registered the correct way. So you're not just holding it in your own bank, you're using all the proper deposit schemes. And if you're using a letting agent, which is what I recommend that you do, I always use letting agents, even on my properties that are in Dorking. I'm in Dorking right now. I've got 4 properties in Dorking. I use a letting agent for all of those, just because it's easier when you do get a problem. And so the cost of this insurance, how much is that? Well, it's actually quite affordable. The cost of the insurance on an annual basis is £134. So it's not too bad. And I know what's going to happen if you take a pet on. You're just probably going to increase the rent by £134 for an annual basis. Both parties won't really feel the pain there. And so by doing it this way, this is legal, and you won't have problems with the Renters' Rights Bill, because you're not saying to the tenant that they must get insurance, which the government have said you can't do now. You're also not making them give a bigger deposit. Now, potentially, in the Renters' Rights Bill, they have said that you might be able to, it's being worked through Parliament at the moment, you might be able to charge a bigger deposit if somebody has a pet. So that could also benefit you, that you could get the bigger deposit, then you've got the option to get this insurance on top, and that hopefully will give more landlords peace of mind. That's ultimately the goal here, because the Renters' Rights Bill is quite anti-landlord. But look, for the sake of £134, you could tick the box, get some peace of mind on this, and hopefully then more people will allow pets to be in the properties as the tenants want, as the government want. Let me know what you think about this insurance below in the comments. Do make sure you like the video and subscribe. And if you didn't do already, do make sure you grab our new ebook. More than 1,500 people have grabbed that. It's called Mortgage Secrets, How to Get the Best Mortgage Deal in 2025. I'm going to put it in the description. I'm going to put it in the first comments. Also, check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.